The Devils will look to redeem themselves against the Hurricanes in Game 3 at the Prudential Center. Do they still have it in them to make it a competitive series? Jim Biringer of Full Press Hockey accompanied me on today's episode to help preview the matchup. There's so much to break down in today's episode alongside Jim. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed him. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast. Here at the Locked On Network, I'm your host, college hockey club play announcer, Devils Rider Pucks Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. Game 3 is on the horizon. The New Jersey Devils taking on the Carolina Hurricanes in round 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Unfortunately, the Devils trail 2-0, but maybe they could get some help from their home crowd. Joining me on today's episode from Full Press Hockey, it's Jim Biringer. Jim, before you speak, let me just tell my audience, I've said it before, but this is one of the more underrated content creators for the Devils. If you haven't done so already, give him a follow on all his platforms. He does excellent work, and he is somewhat of an insider. Jim, how you doing?
I appreciate that introduction, Trey. Likewise, goes back to you as well. One of the underrated guys in the business. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. Great to be here, as you said, Game 3 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, round 1, going Friday night. A little weird of a schedule for the Devils and Hurricanes, but kind of figured this one would be coming. We joked about it. I joked about it with some media guys. At the end of the regular season, this would be the series that probably got buried on TV. And, yeah, here we are.
Well, I would say because of all the games, of all the series, this is the one that people have the least amount of expectations for, because the Hurricanes have handled the Devils in the past. The Devils don't have Jack Hughes. The Devils were an inconsistent team after the Christmas break. It's really difficult for fans to be committed to the Devils this time around. This playoff run is completely different from 2023.
Yeah, I agree 100%, definitely. And being down 2-0 in the first round again is completely different than it was back in 2023 when they were down 2-0 to the Rangers. You were going on the road. It was a crosstown rival. They went down 2-0 to the Carolina Hurricanes in the second round, too. But we saw in Game 3 that's where they were able to get on the board at least and make it a series. So let's see if they could do that again as they head back home, because they're going to need to win the games at home. We've seen it even in the regular season that the home teams took these games. But again, Carolina knows how to win against New Jersey.
Yeah, they do. And I'm hoping that Eric Haula, Stefan Nason, Brett Pesce, Dougie Hamilton, they're doing whatever it takes to give their team advice. Here's how you beat the Hurricanes. Here's the system they like to play. But Sheldon Keefe even said it doesn't come down to X's and O's when it comes to the Hurricanes. It comes down to defense and physicality.
Yes, it does. I mean, you saw it the first 2 games. The New Jersey Devils actually played a really good defensive game. I thought Game 2 was better than Game 1. You could tell in Game 1 they were nervous. You could tell that they didn't know what to expect, even though they should have. But again, it's a different animal in Carolina. Now 3-14 and 17 playoff games in Carolina in the playoffs. But they played a better game in Game 2. And Frederik Andersen stood on his head. And look, Jacob Markstrom's the reason why the games were close in Carolina. He played as well as he should have played, if not better. But the Devils cannot be an average team like they were the second half of the season. They need to be able to score goals. They needed to average 2 to 3 goals a game in this series. But the issue is it's been inconsistencies all year with this team. And the biggest thing is offensively, even when they were 100%. Some games it was there, some games it wasn't. That they have to rectify that.
Well, big news coming out of practice, Jonas Siegenthaler seemed to be fully committed with the Devils. He was leading the team in stretches. He seemed to be back out in action. We don't know if it's official that he's going to return as I am recording this episode. But Jim, does Jonas Siegenthaler help the Devils in this case? Like, can he be the difference maker?
I mean, I don't know about difference maker, but I will say he adds another element to defense, because when he went out of this lineup, you could tell defensively this team was not the same. And he's going to be a difference maker on the penalty kill for sure. He was one of their best penalty killers all year before the injury. And if he gets back in, we don't know if he will or not as you record this. We know Luke Hughes, Brendan Dillon, Brett Pesce weren't practicing. Was he just a placeholder? Was it him trying to get some more reps in? We're going to find out, but I think he's going to play an integral role if he can get in to game 3. If he can't, then he goes to game 4. I think that's huge for them.
Well, I think, like you said, I think the defense has been solid for the Devils for the most part, but unfortunately, they're going up against a powerhouse in the Hurricanes. It's rather difficult. Let's just be fair. And the Devils actually perform better on the road than they do at home. But I think come the playoffs, it's a different animal. So I think the Devils can certainly use the crowd to their advantage. Is there any hope for the Devils? I think that's the big thing. Like, is there any hope for New Jersey?
Yeah, I think there's hope. I think if you can get game 3 at home, feed off that crowd. Yeah, I think you got to just play the right way. Build off what you had in game 2. Take all the positives from game 2 outside of give up a shorthanded goal, give up a power play goal in game 1. Let's take that out of the equation. Build off the shifts that you had. Build off the chances that you created on Frederik Andersen. Put traffic in front. Put shots on net. Guys got to step up. They played a really good game in game 2. Build off that. One shift at a time. I always love talking to Ray Ferraro of ESPN, former player who's an Islander. When he was with Al Arbor in New York, they said, just don't lose a shift. And if you don't lose shifts and then you can win a shift, that's the difference in a game. So I think that's what the Devils have to do. And I think there is hope coming back. Like I said before, they took the 2 home games in the regular season. Playoffs are a different animal. But I think that New Jersey has a chance here to take game 3 and maybe make this a series.
Before we continue with today's episode alongside Jim, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, if you join FanDuel, place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love FanDuel. Making bets is so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers, or diving into player props. You better watch out, because if LeBron James gets ring number 5, I think the GOAT debate is officially over. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Okay, let's get back to today's episode with Jim Biringer of Full Press Hockey. Take it away once again. Now, let's talk about physicality a little bit. Here's one of the more positive aspects to the Devils. The Devils logged 51 hits to Carolina's 31 in Game 2. The most hits that the Devils have logged in a playoff game was 52, which occurred twice, and most recently in Game 1 of the series, since hits were tracked in 2005-2006. So is it safe to say that the Devils are still bringing physicality to the table? And I think, like Mark Messier was saying, like the Devils miss Jack Hughes' physicality. I'm just like, Mark, what are you talking about here? Like, it's not a physicality issue. It's just basically the Devils can't generate offense for right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, they played a physical game, and that's what they needed to do. Just hit anything at sight. Smart hits. Don't take stupid penalties. They really haven't. Just keep bringing the body. Make it hard for their top players to find ice and score goals. Couple of goals, yeah. You know, the first goal on Markstrom in the first game. I probably wants that one back, but there was traffic in front. if some of the other goals, just, maybe one he wants back in the series. But New Jersey's been bringing a physical edge and not really giving Carolina much. Look, all the players have said it post-game. Everything 5-on-5 has been really tight. Special teams has been the difference in this series so far. And if the Devils want to win a game, they're going to have to win the special teams battle because there's not much 5-on-5. Even though they're, generating offensive chances, generating shot chances, high danger chances, physicality's up, the hits are there. But they got to limit Carolina's shot production going forward because you can't keep doing what you're doing because it's not a recipe for success.
Speaking of recipes for success, I want to talk about Sheldon Keefe real quick because I think one of the strongest attributes that Sheldon Keefe has is his ability to adapt. Because we saw it last year during the playoff series against the Bruins when he was with the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs were missing Austin Matthews at one point, who obviously scored 69 goals last year. He was missing William Nylander, who is arguably the best playoff contributor for the Maple Leafs in recent years. He was missing them for a few games, and yet he still was able to get the most out of his team and force a competitive 7-game series, which is why I don't think Sheldon Keefe should have been fired in the first place from the Maple Leafs, but they're doing okay for the most part. It looks like they're going to beat the Senators and battle up Ottawa and advance to the second round. Let me make that clear. But Sheldon Keefe just knows how to adapt because this season has not been ideal. It's been a tale of two halves. In the first half, the Devils looked dangerous, like one of the best teams in the NHL. But then after the Christmas break, they have played 500 hockey at best. It might be a little worse. And they were dealing with injuries. Dougie Hamilton, Jonas Siegenthaler, the big one, Jack Hughes. And yet the Devils never fell out of the top 3 in the Metro. I think Sheldon Keefe might have a few tricks up his sleeve to try to get the best out of his team. But I listened to one of his more recent media availabilities, and he did sound a little disappointed. I don't want to speculate on anything, but it's safe to say that I think Sheldon Keefe is working with what he has, and bottom 6 has been a big issue for Devils all season long. But I just wanted to give Sheldon Keefe a lot of credit because I think he's done a phenomenal job, and I want to make this clear. He is not at fault for this series at all.
No, he's not. And you made a great point about what happened last year in the Boston series. Go back to games 3 and 4. Imagine if the Toronto Maple Leafs played defense the way they did in games 5 through 7 and games 3 and 4. They're advancing to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs last year. And maybe Sheldon Keefe still gets fired after round 2. Who knows? They probably wanted to make that change to begin with.
I mean, NHL coaches have like the shortest leash in all of North American sports.
Right. So I think the big takeaway from his media availability, like yesterday too, is he's trying to find offense somewhere. Like they have 2 goals in the series. They got to be able to generate goals. That's like the biggest thing for me right now.
I was saying like you got to split up Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt. That's what I'm saying, because so that way not as like a demotion for one of them, but so you could spread out your offense a little bit more. And Timo Meier has got to hit his shots because he was snake bitten in the previous game.
Yeah, so I want to make a point on this, like, because a lot of people are nagging on his contract, and they're nagging on a lot of people that just tells me you don't watch the game. You just look at the stats and you just see what happens. If Timo Meier's just a little patient in game 2, that puck's bouncing with the open net on Freddie Anderson. If he just takes his time, let it settle, and just move a little bit, again, everything happens at a fast pace. But you saw what Nick Suzuki did in a game-tying goal against Washington in game 1. Take your time right there, not try to shoot that puck. Maybe it's a different outcome in game 2. All I'm saying is he's had his chances. Let's see if he can bury one. And like I said, the Devils' power play's got to start clicking. And I think he's got to be a big reason why.
I don't want to be dramatic or anything, but it seems like if the Devils do lose game 3, at this point, forget trying to make it a competitive series. Don't get swept. Similar to what happened in 2023 when they lost in 5 to the Hurricanes.
Yeah, no, don't get swept. I heard a stat, the Devils have never gotten swept in a playoff series since they became the New Jersey Devils. So Let's see if they can do that. I think they'll be able to take game 3, change the atmosphere, maybe get a reinforcement here or there. Just play a patient game, play a smart hockey game, and don't give Carolina much. But you can't fall down in this game because we know what Carolina likes to do: take away the middle of the ice, take away that stretch pass, that rush attack. You got to get in there, quick passes, and get traffic in front of Anderson. Look, last time around, we saw in 2023, Rod Brindamore kind of, I don't want to say threw away a game because that wouldn't be right, but he did start Kochetkov in game 3, and that was a game the Devils won, and then he went back to Anderson. I don't know if he's going to do that again. I would doubt it. Freddie Anderson looked...
Not in the first round.
No, exactly. No need, right? Anderson's looked really good. He's made the saves he needs to make. If the Devils can get more traffic in front and just take away his vision a little bit, they can generate more goals. But they just have to capitalize on their chances.
All right, you're sort of my insider right here.
Yeah.
I say that you're one of the more underrated content creators. And for anyone who needs explanation, I am credentialed. I don't consider myself an insider. I don't need that kind of stress in my life, but Jim does. So I'm going to ask him: are you hearing anything in the locker room about potential rumors or speculations we should talk about? Like, if the Devils get swept, is someone's job on the line? Because a lot of people are gunning for Tom Fitzgerald to lose his job, which I think is a little over the top, if you ask me. But we know that it could be a revolving door in hockey, especially.
Yeah, I don't think Tom Fitzgerald's job's on the line. I think he might feel the pressure like we all do in this business, right? I think the coaches feel it. I think he feels it. His team's, let's be honest, underperformed even though they made the playoffs. Again, 2 years in a row, injuries happen. But this team wasn't...
If you want to go back a little further, Lindy Ruff has had to deal with an injury-plagued roster his first couple seasons here.
Right. So I don't think Tom Fitzgerald's job's on the line. Is it fair to critique some of the moves that he's made or non-moves that he's made? Absolutely. You have to read between the lines a little bit. Did they really finish second for a center? Probably not. From what I was told.
I see. I'm curious. Do you have any idea who they were like gunning for?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please reveal.
Ryan O'Reilly in Nashville was their target. The price was just too high.
Okay, so they were I was speculating Mikko Rantanen, but I was just like, there's no way the Hurricanes are going to help out the Devils. No.
Well, they were trying to go after Rantanen. Don't get me wrong, but Carolina's not making that trade inside the division. So you're right on that part.
Probably did not get out of like the first phone call. Just like, hey, do you want to give us Rantanen? And Hurricanes are probably, nope.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you want for this guy? We're not trading him inside the division. So, but Ryan O'Reilly was their target.
It was speculated that the Devils would play the Hurricanes if everything stood intact.
Exactly. And then potentially the Devils signing him for 8 more years. You're going to see this guy for 9 more seasons in your division. I'm not sure you want to do that. But anyway, Ryan O'Reilly was the target out of Nashville, but the price tag was just way too high. They were asking for, top defensive prospect, Mercer, first round pick. Like, Barry Trotz was trying to get as much possible out of it.
Okay, wait. A high-end defensive prospect. Okay,
yeah.
So that's either Shimo Nemitz or Seamus Casey.
Right.
Ethan Edwards didn't sign his entry-level contract at the time.
Right.
Dawson Mercer.
Yep.
And a first-round pick. Devils don't own their first
round
pick.
Right, exactly.
Unless it's top 10 protected, but that wasn't going to happen. So, because they got that in the Jacob Markstrom deal. So it would have been a first-round pick for next year, right?
Right, exactly.
What? Honestly, I would do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, the big thing for me is 2 years in a row you have cap space and you don't really do anything. So it's a fair critique on his end, like for us to critique it and say he didn't do anything. My biggest thing in the offseason was, or even during the season, you had a need at goal scoring. Brock Besser was available. You could have gotten him. Ricard Raquel would have been tougher because, again, inside the division. Pittsburgh's not going to trade him inside the division, but he was available. But you should have gotten Brock Besser because he would have solved this. Yeah, Cody Glass is here, but again, it's Cody Glass. It's not a top 6 goal scorer that potentially could really benefit New Jersey.
Okay, so when he says that the Devils came in second for Ryan O'Reilly, I just don't. Okay, then who came in first then? Because O'Reilly's still with the Predators.
Nobody came in first. He never came in second. He didn't want to overpay for Ryan O'Reilly.
And your sources confirm this.
Yes.
So you heard it here on Locked On Devils. The player that the Devils were trying to go for at the trade deadline was Ryan O'Reilly. Unfortunately, the asking price was too high. So what? Why would Tom Fitzgerald say they came in second when O'Reilly stood where he was at? Like, just to save face?
I mean, I'm not going to speculate on that. No one's really told me just to save face, but I think it's, you could speculate, Casey Middlestat. Casey Middlestat was not coming to New Jersey. Like, that just wasn't a trade that made sense. But it was Ryan O'Reilly. That was the guy. I just don't think they wanted to overpay. I think they just, this is my personal opinion. I think the game plan in place, regardless of the injuries, was always to do what they did. And that's just my personal opinion. No one's told me this. But from everything I've seen play out, it just feels like that was the play from the start.
Okay. I mean, well, Ryan O'Reilly is in his mid-30s. I guess, like, how many more years could you get out of him?
I mean, he still had a year left on his deal. And Nashville was treating him like he had no trade protection, even though he doesn't. So, again, Barry Trotz tried to get as much out of it as possible. They didn't do it. They moved on to other things.
Before we close out today's episode, let me tell you guys about Monarch Money. Ever check your banking account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just mismanaging your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Okay, let's close out today's episode with Jim Biringer. Take it away once again. All right, focusing back to the current state of the Devils to close out today's show. The Devils enter Game 3 as underdogs. What do we need to see out of them specifically in order for them to shift the momentum back into their favor? We mentioned Jacob Markstrom. We mentioned the physicality. We mentioned the lack of offense. Are there any changes or any players that we haven't mentioned that you would like to see elevate their game?
I mean, Jesper Bratt's played well. Nico Hischier's played really well. I'd like to see more from the bottom 6, to be honest, even though they played really.
That's a story going on for months now.
Right, but I mean, the Dowling line did play better, but we need more from. They have to put shifts together. It just can't be, first 2 lines do something, then they get pinned in their own zone again. First 2 lines come back out, change things up. I think with the benefit of the last change, they're going to be able to get away from some of the matchups that Carolina had in Carolina, so that's going to benefit them. But if Jonas Siegenthaler does come back, that's a huge boost to that penalty kill. But I do think that the Devils need to generate more on their power play. Like, they really do. They have to figure out a way to beat that aggressive PK and score some power play goals. Because right now, like I said before, the difference in this series is special teams.
Well, Sheldon Keefe did say, to your credit, that it did come down to special teams in Game 2 because the Devils sacrificed a shorthanded goal. Hurricanes had the best PK in the entire league this season. Second were the Devils, but the Hurricanes proved why they were superior. And come the third period, the two things should have happened. One, the Devils should have scored on the power play that they were given, but they were buzzing. Unfortunately, Freddie Anderson was playing really well. He was standing on his head, and he was robbing the Devils point blank. Second thing is, Brent Burns should have been given at least a double penalty for headbutting Timo Meier. The Devils should have had a lengthy power play.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. There was definitely a headbutt there.
Like, okay, look, if you don't want to eject him, fine. If you don't want to fine him, fine.
Yeah, but double minor at least.
Double minor at the very least. Give the, like, come on now. Like, you could see the look on his face. He didn't seem remorseful. He didn't lead with his forearm. He headbutted Timo Meier, his former Sharks teammate, and he was laughing about it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the Devils just need to convert on their opportunities. They have to just play shift by shift, win their shifts, be patient. If it's not coming, don't panic. That's the biggest thing. Don't panic. And you know what? Hopefully you have your full complementary of D. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. Dylan and Luke Hughes and all those guys. But they have to be able to generate more offensively, limit Carolina's chances defensively, because let's be honest, you're not giving up 45 shots and expecting to win a hockey game. Like, it's just not going to happen. Jacob Markstrom can like just stand on his head. Eventually, he's just going to like burn out, and he's played really well in the series. The Devils need to help him out. And if they can generate more offensively, get traffic in front, keep the game very simple, and the players just have to adjust, because the coaches can do only so much showing them things. The players can execute those adjustments. They can take game 3.
Well, Jim, I'll see you at the Rock for games 3 and 4. If you see either one of us at the Prudential Center, don't be afraid to come up and say hi. I'll be making my rounds around the concourse in between periods. But Jim, where can my audience find you at, since you're the voice of reason?
Yeah, at Jim Biringer on X. Get me Jersey Jim 33 on Instagram as well. That's basically where everything gets posted, along with the nightcap recap as well. Check it out, Full Press Hockey, for the latest. Follow along this playoff run. I'll be here, voice of reason, always around.
All right, everybody, that's Jim Biringer. And like I do to close out every episode, continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Special thanks to Jim. Thanks for listening once again.